Want to get started? You know the Hawaiian shock on everyone. You can throw that up to the camera. And La Hui Tower, November 8088 Delta, ready at runway 17 for Carter's Point.
8088 Delta, La Hui Tower, approved, wind 160 at Manor, runway 17, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 1788 Delta. All right, well, everybody ready to get in the air?
Yes.
Right,
Let's do it.
Here we go. Alright, just like that, up in the air, a nice short distance. Typically we'll get a few bumps here down low and then it gets a lot smoother as we climb. First of many golf courses out the right side. This one called the Kauai Lagoons. Any golfers in the group today?
Yes.
Yeah, Rick, you like to play? Any plans to play while you're here?
No, not here.
Right.
Many other things to do.
Sure. Understandable. We have something like 9 golf courses here.
It doesn't fit into Peg's to-do list.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah, you can always hit the driving range too. We got some good places for that. I'll point out a couple here today. This harbor here called the Nawili Willi Harbor. There you can see Kalapaki Beach out the right side. Beautiful views of Black Mountain. As well as there's some good shops and restaurants right off the sand, including Duke's, the steak and seafood place, one of our favorite places on the island.
I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Marcus.
Marcus. Have you seen any of the whales yet?
I've seen 2 whales.
2 whales,
yeah. So there's a chance we could see them. It's still kind of early in the season, but we'll keep a sharp eye out. And Todd, did you ever see the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Sure did.
Hey, you remember early on, after he escapes from that big boulder, when all those guys are chasing him, he flies away from them on a river in a float plane. That was filmed on this river out the right side, called the Huleia River. Lots of movies filmed on Kauai. I'll point out a number of places here today. And 88 Delta passing Carter's Point.
4 Bravo Kilo, battle. 4 Bravo Kilo, mid-pad, clear land air taxi to the gate.
Clear land, mid-pad, 4 Bravo Kilo.
And 88 Delta just passed Carter's Point.
88 Delta, frequency change approved.
Frequency change approved, 88 Delta. Right, out the right side you can see this mountain called Black Mountain. Believe it or not, the whole thing is private property owned by the Rice family. So in La Hui, you maybe have seen Rice Street. That's named after the same guy, William Hyde Rice. He was born in Honolulu back in the 1840s and would go on to be governor of Kauai for a time. But down the back side of this mountain and up the Huleia River, there's a place called Kipu Ranch. It's a cattle ranch where you can do some ATV tours and zip lining and do some really fun trips back through there. And sometimes the wildlife will come down among the cattle. Believe it or not, we do have animals here other than chickens. So you can see all these beaches out the right side. These are public beaches. In the entire state of Hawaii, there aren't any private beaches. It's just to be able to get to some of these, you have to go in from the sea. So boating, kayaking, or swimming in some instances we'll see.
So these would have to be accessed by the sea, right? Because it's private land.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And right underneath our right wingtip, you see that low spot in the mountains? There's a road that comes through there.
Yeah.
That's where George Clooney was standing in the movie The Descendants, when he's overlooking his property, kind of looking down on that beach.
Still down there?
What's that?
Is George still down there?
No, not to my knowledge,
that's
no.
too bad.
And that movie was about Princess Abigail, right?
Well, it was actually about loosely based on this Rice family. Yeah, kind of interesting. You can see that beach on the right side, Kipu Kai. That's also where they landed the airplane in the movie 6 Days, 7 Nights, another Harrison Ford movie. But don't worry, no plans for a beach landing today. Although this airplane would be able to do it. Here we can see the entire south side of Kauai. This is the drier leeward side. This used to all be sugarcane fields. Now it's a lot of this kind of grazing land for cattle. A few horses as well. But really, over the past 100 years, the sugarcane plantations shut down as they found they could produce sugar a lot cheaper elsewhere in the world, mainly labor cost-wise, so they moved it to places like the Philippines. And the only Hawaiian island currently with sugar being mass-produced is Maui. This beach here, called Mahalapu, you can drive down there. The dirt roads are very rough terrain, though, so you need a 4x4, otherwise be prepared to use your rental insurance. And Neha, if you look at the sand, go all the way to the left of this beach, there's where those bushes start, and there's a cave down there. See that cave?
I see it, yeah.
Yeah, called the Makauwahi Cave. That's where they had the Fountain of Youth in the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's also the most significant archaeological site in Hawaii. They found all kinds of things down there. Bird remains from 40 different species, 20 of which are extinct now, as well as human remains, as it was a burial site from the first explorers. They estimate people first came here around 2,000 years ago. Well, pretty impressive that they could make it out there, the types of boats and navigation equipment, or lack thereof, they would have had. Another way to get down to that cave and beach is you can hike from this beach coming up along all these cliffs, called the Heritage Trail. About 1.5 miles long. This beach here, called the Shipwrecks Beach. There used to be a shipwreck in it where it gets its name, but it's since been washed out. Behind the beach is the largest resort on Kauai, the Grand Hyatt. And if you come down here South Shore, you have some time, I recommend even walking through those grounds. Very beautiful. But Peg, if you look at the far right side of that beach, you see that first cliff. That's where they jumped off in 6 Days, 7 Nights when the pirates were chasing them.
Okay.
And it's where a lot of the locals will jump off to. It's about 40 feet down though, so you really got to be careful how you land. My wife and I jumped there our first visit to Kauai, and she landed in a slightly sitting position and bruised up the back of her legs. So gotta land straight up and down. So she probably wouldn't do it again, but I would. It's, you're in the air a lot longer than you expect to be. Hey, Delta Poipu. Out the right side here in front of the orange roof building, that's Poipu Beach. A great beach here south side for swimming and snorkeling. Yeah, that's very calm water. Pretty shallow, so all the fish swim all around you. See the occasional eel and sea turtle down there. But lots of sea turtles on this south side and all around the island of Kauai. I go diving quite often. Enjoy it quite a lot. Recently I saw a couple 6-foot white-tip reef sharks. My parents weren't too happy when they found I was swimming towards them to get GoPro footage, but got some pretty sweet footage, and also saw an eagle ray down here south side. But Rick, you see this golf course here? This one's called Kukui'ula, where a membership for a year of golfing is $150,000. Yeah.
Ouch.
All right, unless you own a house on the property, then it's almost half off at about $80,000. But all the white sand in those bunkers is brought in from Vietnam. Yeah, big crates that cost about $40,000 a piece. One of my good buddies works there as a greenskeeper, so every once in a while we'll get to go golf for free there.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Pays to know, people. Straight out at 3 o'clock, you can see an L-shaped building with a tan roof right along the shoreline, just straight out there. Bunch of cars parked around it. Goes straight to the right of that L, and that points at Spouting Horn. Place there, it goes up, shooting up like a geyser there. Yeah.
Okay, that's where it is.
Fun place to visit. You can go there for free. Nice place to watch the sunset as well.
So it's much calmer on the south side than the north side?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Okay.
Especially the winter time.
What are they growing here?
Yeah, these are all coffee fields.
Coffee field.
Owned by the Kauai Coffee Company. You probably all heard of Kona coffee,
Yeah.
but that's grown on the Big Island, so no Kona being grown here. Actually, to qualify as Kona coffee, it only has to be 10% Kona. But very delicious coffee. This Kauai Coffee Company makes some really good coffee too. And it's actually the largest coffee plantation in the United States. About 4 million coffee trees spread out amongst 3,100 acres or so. And the best part is there's a visitor center you can go to. You can sample every type of coffee they make for free. Also take a little free guided tour through their fields. So not everything is expensive when you visit Kauai. Just most things.
What is this monument here?
Yeah, that's actually a VOR. It's a navigation aid for airplanes. Kind of looks like a monument there. It's an instrument that gives us kind of highways in the sky.
Oh, here's some little houses.
Yeah, if you look carefully, you might see a peace sign down in the fields.
Yeah,
You do.
Oh, yeah.
South Kauai VOR 88 Delta.
So how high up are we?
Right now we're about 1,500 feet above the ground. So, yeah, nice, and like to keep it that place where it's nice to see, but not so low that it's bumpy. Off the left side, you can see the fields go over to Port Allen. That's where most of the south side boat tours leave from, that bay over there. They'll sail up around the southwest corner of the island to get to the Nepali coast. However, this is kind of the time of year where they stop going up to the Nepali because those waves get so big. Last week, we were getting 20 to 30 foot waves on the North Shore.
yeah. I was in Oahu. We were on a tour and we got hit by a crazy wave.
Oh man.
And a couple people got hurt. We heard
Oh
that
wow, really?
a gentleman died the same day.
On a boat?
No.
Or just drowning?
He was on the shore and they got hit with the wave. 3 of them got washed out. 2 of them got back to shore safely and he drowned.
Wow. Yeah, you definitely gotta respect the water. 88 Delta Hanapepe from the south. And as we head inland, you'll notice things get a lot more lush and green. Because average rainfall increases very quickly as you head towards the center of the island. About 50 inches per year per mile it increases. All leading up to Waialeale, the wettest spot on Earth. That's straight ahead of the airplane up the valley.
And how much does that get?
That averages 450 inches of rain per year.
Wow.
So yeah, tons of water. And this entire Hanapepe Valley is private property. Again, this time owned by the Robinson family. They own from the east side of the valley all the way over to the Waimea Canyon. From the shoreline all the way up to Waialeale. So about 1/5 of the island belongs to that family.
So is there any preferential treatment of Hawaiian individuals?
Say that again?
Is there any preferential treatment for Hawaiians?
As far as treatment from who, I guess?
Just to buy property or anything?
Not that I've noticed. I mean, of course, a lot of Hawaiian families kind of own houses that have been passed down, so they'll maybe own 3 or 4 houses. But I mean, as far as people looking to buy, I don't think it's, preferential. Over here, they bought this land about 150 years ago. So
Okay.
Yeah,
they've
on
had it for a long
Oahu,
time.
I think they have that.
I thought so. I was
Yeah,
pretty
they
sure.
get a lease, a 99-year lease for $1. They have to be a certain percentage of Hawaiian. And I heard there's a big waiting list for it.
Oh, you'll see several waterfalls out the right side here. You see that largest one down in the valley?
Yeah.
That is the Jurassic Falls.
Upper Mike, Sunshine 6.
Right where they landed the helicopter back in the first Jurassic Park movie.
Yep.
The Hawaiian name for those falls, Manawaiopuna, which means strong raging waters in Hawaiian. And it certainly lived up to that name.
Yeah, do you know how long, how many feet that drop is?
That one's about 300 feet tall.
Wow.
And the only way to see it is by aerial tour here. Because with the private property, you can't go hiking to it. And you can't quite see it from any of the lookouts on the island. But that strong raging water's name, like I mentioned, has lived up to that. If you remember that big storm that comes through in the first Jurassic Park movie, that's real footage of Hurricane Iniki, the worst storm to ever hit Hawaii. And it washed their helipad away.
I went
down at the waterfall
snorkeling in Maui the other day, and Hurricane Iniki wiped out a big pier.
Oh, really?
And it was a great place to go snorkeling, lots of turtles.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they say on Kauai, the hurricane wiped out about every single tree on the island.
Almost to the backside of Kamamau.
And you'll notice a number of gray trees too. Those are trees that were killed in the hurricane. Out the right side, you can see a big house up in the hills there. Kind of back behind us to the right, that's one of the Robinson family homes that's only accessible by helicopter. And you've actually seen that helicopter if you've seen the first Jurassic Park. That's the one they rented out from the family to fly around, shoot all those scenes. As we head over to the west, you'll notice just how much the terrain changes. Have any of you been to Big Island before?
I was there a couple of days ago.
Okay, yeah, so you'll notice that island is a lot more kind of flat and gently sloping. That's what Kauai used to look like. But because it is the oldest Hawaiian island, it's had the most time to be eroded and weathered away. So all these valleys that we'll see formed over time by water erosion. All that rain we get running off the mountain. This first valley here, called the Olokeli Valley, rather. That goes way back to the western face of Waialeale. So a pretty typical day up on Waialeale, top of the mountain obscured by clouds and the rain. 88 Delta Olokeli windsock 3.3. And they actually filmed some scenes from the movie George of the Jungle down in the Olokeli Valley there. Had to helicopter everything in. And all these valleys kind of converge into one river that's out the left side. That's called the Waimea River, at Waimea Town, where James Cook first settled the Hawaiian Islands back in 1778. And there's pretty much a Waimea on every Hawaiian island, as it means red water. And Neha, you see how the shoreline is kind of stained bright red there? That says the rains bring down all this red soil. They'll turn that water very dirty, bright red. There's a pier that you can go on off of Waimea Town there. Great place to watch the sunset. I've also done some fishing off that pier. A couple months ago, caught 2 small hammerhead sharks.
I'm glad you explained the Waimea, because somebody told me to visit Waimea Falls or Waimea Canyon, and every island I've been to, I've noticed something that's Waimea. I'm like, they didn't tell me where.
Right. Just kind of go to everyone. But here we're just starting to come into the Waimea Canyon. Southeast Waimea, 88 Delta headed for the lower mic. So this here, the Waimea Canyon, been called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific.
Over the backside of Kamamau.
That nickname always attributed to the author Mark Twain as having come up with that. If you do your research, you'll find Mr. Twain never made it to Kauai, however. We saw pictures of it, and that's where he came up with the nickname.
This is the story of a tragic event that happened.
Correction, 88 Delta will be headed for the upper mic of 4.0 South Waimea.
This
Clearing up nicely for us here.
the last
33, New Kai for New back.
At times, this canyon is just shy of 4,000 feet deep.
For Muley and his people.
Out the left side again, you can see the longest beach in Hawaii. That's called Polihale, that wraps around that southwest corner for 17 miles. There's a Navy base down there called the Pacific Missile Range Facility. Every few months they'll launch missiles out there for tracking exercises. It's the only base in the U.S. where they can track submarines, surface ships, airplanes, and spacecraft all at the same time. But the road that goes up to Waimea is out the left side. It's a beautiful trip to come up through here. Peg, you guys driven up here yet?
Not yet.
All right.
It's on the list.
Yeah, how about you, Neha?
I did.
All right. Was it clear for you?
It was, yes.
All right, perfect. Caught it at the right time then. And 88 Delta just north of the upper Mike 4.3, headed for backdoor Kalawao. You can see another impressive waterfall out the right side called the Waipo'o Falls. Those ones you can actually hike to. 2 miles out and 2 miles back. Towards the end of the trail, you actually go right down that red ridge line. And you might be able to see some hikers down there if you look carefully. My wife and I did that trail back in July for our 2-year anniversary and hung our legs over the top. Beautiful trail there.
With all the rain, how come there aren't more waterfalls that we can...
Yeah, it depends on the area of the island.
Okay.
So over to the west, this is where it's a bit drier. And just recently we've had a lot of nice clear days. So good for touring, but just not quite as wet for waterfalls. However,
33.
we'll see if the weather allows us to go closer to the interior of the island later. You'll see all kinds of waterfalls, even though it's been a little drier. And we're flying up what's called into the Kokee State Park. Number of cabins down off the left. Not permanent residences, just kind of getaways that people have. My wife and I have some friends with access to a cabin. They let us spend a weekend up here. And the first night, we walked out on the deck and watched the clouds pass down below us. A really neat feeling.
You have a lot of friends, don't you?
Yeah, we had some friends out here before we moved, actually, so that made it a nice transition. So, Neha, when you came up here, did you go all the way to the very end of the road?
I did.
All right. So you can see the NASA observatory out the left side. If you go straight Makai or towards the sea from there, that'll take you to the Kalalau lookout. And if you continue up the road a bit further, take you to the Pu'u'okila lookout at the very end of the road. That gives you a lookout on the largest valley on the Nepali coast, the Kalalau Valley. Got a real treat today. It's nice and clear up here. We're going to fly down the Kalalau Valley top to bottom. Going to make everyone down below green with envy. So there you can see the lookout out the left side as we come around. And there's actually a hiking trail that comes around the kind of the top of the canyon rim here, called the Pihea Trail. Beautiful hike, and it's not very difficult either.
Oh my goodness.
Safari 5, head up from the east.
Backdoor Kalalau, 88 Delta. This is top of the Nepali here. Hard to pick a favorite place, but this is up there.
So 33 turns to the cathedral.
How about that view, Todd?
Amazing.
So you'll see out the left side, that's the windward side of the valley. That's where it gets extra sharp on those ridge lines. You'll notice a lot less plant life out that left side than the right because all that wind kind of knocks the soil away. And out the left and right sides of the airplane, the beautiful Nepali coast. Out the left side, you see a bit more color. We'll head offshore and then circle back around, so the entire Nepali will be out the right side here before long. Mayday Delta Kalalau shoreline 3.7 headed offshore on the reverse.
Looks just like Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm going to come visit Minnesota.
233, Kalalau, 1800.
Bring it.
Out the left side, you see a few beaches. The first one called Kalalau Beach, where all those catamarans are parked. You go to the next beach down, that one's called Honapu. There's actually an archway that goes underneath that rock there. That's been featured in several movies. The fourth Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp walks right under the arch in the rock. Also 6 days, 7 nights. After they see the pirate shoot that guy when they're running away, they go underneath the arch. However, unless you're a film crew that can afford a very expensive permit, the only way to get to Honapu Beach is by swimming. By law, you can't land any sort of craft on the sand unless you have that permit, not even a surfboard, because it's where the ancient Hawaiians used to bury their dead, so kind of like a sacred site.
Red Hill, 2100, Blue 33.
So Nepali in Hawaiian means the cliffs. Like I mentioned, the oldest island, so as that brittle rock erodes, it shears off, creating these ridges that are so very sharp. Mayday Delta, hold offshore Honapu 2.8, circling back to the east.
So during heavy rains, it must look like dozens of waterfalls coming down these.
Up here, there are kind of a few sections of waterfalls. A lot of it's like right along the water line. But I mean, there are a number of waterfalls. Kind of right again at the heart of the island is where it gets too many waterfalls to count, actually. Looking at Honapu Beach, you see the rock that kind of separates the beach that I mentioned has the arch in it. If you look at the left side of that arch, that very vertical rock wall, the first kind of point that it comes to at the top, that's about as high as the Empire State Building. A little sense of scale for how massive the Nepali is. Very sharp spires there called the cathedrals. And down below the cathedrals at Kalalau Beach, that one you can kayak to, or you can hike 11 miles one way along the Kalalau Trail. Probably the most iconic hike in Hawaii. It starts up at that point that's furthest ahead of us. Goes along that entire stretch. A 22-mile round-trip hike. You need a permit from the state to go any further than Hanakapiai Beach. I'll show you where that is here before too long. But it's been ranked in the top 20 most dangerous hikes on Earth. Because the trail gets very close to the cliff's edge. The trail narrows to about a foot wide as well.
And you've done that as well?
I've done portions of that. I haven't gone all the way out to the beach. But I'll show you my favorite section of the trail up a little bit further here.
How much of the land mass does the Nepali coast take up?
It's about a 16-mile stretch along that northwest side. So from Polihale Beach back there all the way up to KA Beach here. 88 Delta offshore, Hanakoa 2.4. So there's 2 places you're allowed to camp.
33, beaching in, Hanakaupai, 3100 for windy.
And there's 2 places you can camp along the trail. This valley out the right, called the Hanakoa Valley. And oftentimes there's a waterfall coming down the back of that one. Again, it hasn't been as wet, but this valley and the next one to the left often have huge waterfalls, probably about 1,500 feet high when it's a little bit wetter.
And camp there? How do you get there?
You gotta hike in, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You hike in, you bring all your camping gear, you can spend a night there, and then a maximum of 5 nights at the end of the trail at Kalalau Beach.
Just a shadow, or are these like caves?
Yeah, there actually are sea caves here, good eye. And the smaller boat tours, kind of weather permitting, will take you right on inside those caves. One of the caves goes back for almost a half mile into the mountain. This larger valley here, Hanakaupai Valley, the first 2 miles of the Kalalau Trail bring you down the hill and to that beach right at the mouth of the valley. Except you don't want to go swimming there. Big waves and strong currents dominate. You can see the red section of trail there. Peg, you see that trail?
Oh, yeah.
And to go any further than the beach, you need the permit. However, you can go from the beach to the back of the valley. And as you go back, you follow the river. It curves around to the right to the Hanakaupai Falls. That's another 300-foot tall waterfall. Might be a little hazy, but you can kind of see just barely the white strip coming down. Can't appreciate the scale from here, but it's a beautiful hike to get back there. My wife and I recently did that 8-mile round-trip hike.
How long did that take?
Yeah, it took us 6 hours, and we had some adverse conditions. It rained on us for 2 hours straight from the falls back to the beach. So just soaked us. We started the trail trying to avoid all the puddles. By the end, it was like we jumped in the river with all our clothes on. So just walked right through them. Offshore KA 88 Delta. And this here KA Beach. This is as far as the road goes. So you can park and go snorkeling or scuba diving along all this beautiful reef up here. Or you can do portions of the Kalalau Trail. I recommend if you do come up here to do at least the first half mile of the trail. It brings you to a cool overlook that you're over 100 feet above the beach. And you can also see up the Nepali a ways. You can do that half mile out and back in an hour without much trouble.
And what trail is that?
That's the Kalalau Trail. You're just kind of doing the first portion of it, right? And it's super easy to find. You just park and walk to the end of the road, and there's beach and trail to the left. But look at how clear this water is. You can see all the way down to the bottom. I can easily see to the bottom on my side, and that's over a mile offshore. But this largest reef rather, down below, that's offshore Tunnels Beach. That's the best snorkeling on the island.
Right here, this pool?
Yeah, just this huge reef down below. That's all those kind of channels formed in the reef. More advanced divers and scuba divers will swim down underneath and through those channels. Lots of sea turtles up there. Kind of have a greater chance typically to see the reef sharks up here on the north shore. But again, the reef sharks are pretty benign unless you're a spear fisherman who hangs the fish from your belt. They see that as a buffet. But shark attacks, so very rare on Kauai. They don't even have a reliable statistic for them. However, offshore at Tunnels Beach, well offshore, the entire reef out in the deep water where the big fish swim and the big waves are that the surfers like, that's where Bethany Hamilton from Soul Surfer, that's where she lost her arm to a tiger shark. This beach coming up out on the point, that one's called Lumahai, and behind Lumahai you can see Puff the Magic Dragon. You see that ridge line, it goes down the left, kind of down sloping into the bay. That's the snout of the dragon, kind of like the snout of a crocodile. Follow that up to the right to the head, and then the neck curves around, going to the body sleeping up in the clouds there. In the song, it says he lived by the sea in the land called Hanalei. And that's the Hanalei Bay off his nose, or they got the name for the for the song there. Out the right side here as we finish this turn. This is one of my favorite photos on the island. Look at all those beautiful colors. Blues, the golden sands, the white, and you can see the very sharp ridgeline back there of Bali High. That nickname from the musical South Pacific. The Hawaiian name is the Makana Ridge. But as you go up that Kalalau Trail, you're kind of right underneath Bali High, and really neat.
Lumahai Valley Ridge for the back of Honolulu Valley.
Mayday Delta Beach and Lumahai at 2.2.
My favorite rendition of this song.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sung by Israel Kamakaviva Ole, known as Brother Is on the islands. And he was actually born on the island of Ni'ihau. It was too hazy for us to see it today, but that's 17 miles offshore, kind of the northwest of Kauai, known as the Forbidden Island. Fewer than 200 people call that place home. They all observe the old traditional ways of living, ride around on horseback, don't use technology. The entire island is owned by that same Robinson family. They bought 150 years ago for $10,000 and a grand piano. This here, of course, the Hanalei Bay out our left side. Beautiful beach. Nice place to just walk the beach waiting for sunset. You can see the St. Regis Resort out on the point with a big white roof building.
Yep, we're right next to it.
Okay, at the west end or just
at
in?
the Hanalei Villas.
Oh yeah, they did say that. Very cool.
Wow, it's beautiful over there.
Yeah, that's a great resort. Right up there with the Hyatt for probably the best resorts on the island. That's where they stay in the movie The Descendants when George Clooney's family comes. You can notice the Hanalei Pier. That's closer to us there. That's in the background, several scenes in that movie.
Yeah, we were just swimming there yesterday.
Oh, right on. Yeah, nice views of the mountains here.
Yeah.
The winter time where we get the big waves, of course, they say 15 feet to 50 feet high. Last year outside the Hanalei Bay, there was an 80-foot tall wave. This mountain at the back of the valley here called Namolokama. And one of the tallest waterfalls on Earth comes right down the face of that one. You can see the lower portions today. A little bit hard in the haze and the shadows, but that one's over 3,000 feet tall. Not every day you're flying an airplane and looking up at a waterfall.
33 leaving Twin Falls for the crater.
Mayday Delta low saddle.
Dramatic.
What's that?
In the late afternoon, the sun should be really dramatic. Light and shade show, right?
Right,
Over
it's
the canyon and mountains.
exactly right. There's kind of advantages to each time of day, but later in the day you get a kind of more shadows cast on the Nepali coast. Makes it difficult to see up here. This here, the Hanalei River Valley, this is that paradise for waterfalls that I mentioned. So again, it has been a little bit drier, but we'll still see more than 10 waterfalls up through here.
With 33, north wall for the crater. Catch you coming up.
Mayday Delta, beam the high saddle 2.7. This entire valley really only visible by air tour again. It's state property, but there aren't any roads or hiking trails that come up through here. If you do try hike up through here, it's more like bushwhacking. But you can see all these scars in the mountains where after it's been really wet, every single one will have a bright white waterfall coming down. There's 5 waterfalls out the left side. I'm going to bank over here to the left. Check these guys out. There's 2 of them that are really impressive out the left side. Kind of drain right into each other. See those, Todd?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, those are great. As soon as we level out from those guys, several more out the right side. And this is where you find a lot of that other wildlife, all this lush green vegetation. You can see why they call it the Garden Isle. But some mountain goats up in the cliffs, lots of wild pigs. Say we have 400,000 wild pigs on Kauai. That's almost 6 times the population. Lots of different types of tropical birds, some black-tailed deer, toads, frogs, and lizards, some very large snails. Snails that get upwards of 7 inches long.
Do they eat those?
As far as, do people eat those?
Yeah.
No, because snails are kind of known as carriers for diseases. So they're actually kind of an invasive species. The other night I was walking in the dark and I stepped on something that felt like a Christmas ornament, and it turned out to be a snail. It's a really loud popping sound.
Waterfall there.
Yeah, really impressive one. Again, out the left side, kind of leaps right off the cliff. This massive mountain out the right side, Waialeale. So we're right in the heart of the island. Yeah, looks like some pretty good winds down in the valley. That waterfall is kind of flowing at a curve. And 88 Delta crossing the Hanalei Ridge, close to the power lines for the Crater North Wall.
We took that power line trail.
Okay, yeah, you did a portion of it, kind of starts down here.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, that's a pretty tricky one, isn't it?
We ended up in a swamp and brush.
Overgrown,
Yeah.
right?
T4 Papa Alpha's opposite direction will be west of the power lines on the Ridge for Luma High.
Roger, we're looking for you. We're at about 2.4 just on the south side of the ridge.
Alright, should be a factor. We're down to 2,000.
Roger. I got you in sight now, just passing off your left side.
Gotcha, thanks.
Here you can see where a mudslide occurred last year. Caused all that big chunk of dirt to flow off. Of course, no one living up here, so nobody got hurt, thankfully. We're gonna fly past what's called the Waialeale crater here. The valley goes way back to near vertical walls that go up for over 5,000 feet above sea level. The tallest peak on Kauai being Kavaikini. Rises 5,243 feet above sea level.
4 BK tree tunnel.
And actually on the very, very rare days that we can fly over the top, it's not nearly as green as it is down here because you get to such high water levels that nothing can grow. Ironic, the wettest spot on Earth and you got a bunch of brown terrain. 88 Delta Crater, Northwall 2.4. And right down below us is where they had the gates from the first Jurassic Park movie. Steven Spielberg waited and waited for a nice clear day of the, so we get a shot of the whole mountain, but of course, like I mentioned, so rare, that never came, so we had to settle for what's in the movie, where kind of most of the mountains covered by clouds. In the 1970s version of King Kong, which was filmed here on Kauai, they filmed way back in the valley too. Really impressive they could even get back there. And usually behind this ridge line here off the right, there will be a couple more waterfalls up there. Yeah, there's at least one there. Pretty neat when the sun hits them just right. They look like lightning coming down the cliffs. Right now you can see we have ridgeline all around us. That's because we're in what's known as the Lihue Basin. Essentially the original volcano crater. Back when Kauai was an active volcano. Of course the only active volcano now in Hawaii is on the Big Island. And did you see the smoke when you were over there, Todd?
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, a few weeks ago I took an airline over to Big Island and got to fly this airplane all the way back over to Kauai. So kind of jumped each island, took a little self-guided tour around. My wife got to come with me. That was a real treat.
Yeah, I was given information too late. I spent almost a whole day in Volcanoes National Park.
Oh, really?
And somebody asked me if I had been up the top of Kilauea on sunset because you can see the glow coming out. And
oh, wow.
I didn't. I wasn't there. I was actually at the bottom of the crater.
Oh, really?
For sunset. Not that one, Kilauea.
Okay.
Advise on the contact you have hotel. Information Hotel 2153 Zulu, wind 13010, visibility 10, ceiling 1900, overcast, temperature 29er, dew point 23, altimeter, taxi to the gate. Short pad, clear to land, air taxi, blue 33.
Right, we can notice all these flat top trees down below. Those are called albizia trees. They kind of look like broccoli. And they're not native to Hawaii, but pretty impressive how thick they grow like that. Looks like you could almost walk across the top of them in some areas. They're the ones with the very light bark. Dinosaur was eating an albizia tree in the first Jurassic Park. They climbed an albizia tree in the Hunger Games movie, the first one. Although that was not filmed here. Lihue Tower, November 8088 Delta, approaching the lakes with Hotel Falls transition.
Over 808 Delta, Lihue Tower, Roger, report, leaving the falls.
Port leaving the falls, 88 Delta. But those albizia trees are actually considered highly invasive nowadays because of how quickly they grow. Their average tree on the island grows about 2 feet per year. These albizia trees will grow 20 feet in 1 year. Very fast growing, and because of that they get fairly brittle, so they tend to break off and hit power lines, block hiking trails, so they do cut them down in some areas, turn them into wood chips and burn them for more electricity.
Star Hawaiian 211 with hotel on the visual 21.
Neha, have you had any Hawaiian shave ice since you've been here? Alright, if you want the best place on the island, in my opinion, it's in Kapa'a, right near a restaurant called Mermaids. It's the ice place is called Wailua Shave Ice because it was started in Wailua. But it's open noon to 6 p.m. each day, and it's all very finely shaved ice. They put real fruit, real cream, everything, all natural flavors. Really delicious, especially refreshing on a hot day. Rick, up ahead of us, you see that mountain on the left? That's called Sleeping Giant. Can you see the face? It's turned skyward. That highest peak is the nose, so kind of looking up his nostrils right now. Okay. The mouth is a valley to the right, and then his eye is kind of in the shadow right now.
I do see it.
Yeah, kind of neat. You can actually hike to the very top of his nose if you like. Takes just under an hour. And you usually still have cell phone service at the top, so my wife and I hiked up there and used her iPhone to FaceTime my parents back in Minnesota. And if you guys are looking for really good kayaking
Keep your
on the island,
south and east of runway 21 for traffic all times.
that's the Wailua River underneath us. There's some great kayaking up through there. Actually see a number of kayaks, but if you stay to the north branch, you can find a place to leave your kayaks and hike about 1.5 miles to a place called the Secret Falls. It's a 100-foot high waterfall. A beautiful hike to get back there. All pretty even terrain. Last time I was there, the whole area smelled like pineapple for some reason. The airport's up ahead. We'll be landing in a few minutes here. Before we do, keep an eye out the right side of the airplane. You'll see the Wailua Falls. And these ones you can actually drive to. So Todd, keep an eye out for those 3 streams that I was talking about.
Oh, I see them now, yeah.
Go. Yeah, you can hike to the base of the falls. It's kind of a sketchy trail. It's super steep. And you hang on to ropes as you go down, but fairly short, 10 to 15 minutes. You get to the bottom, you can swim in the pool. That's a really deep pool, over 50 feet deep.
Quick drive from the airport.
Yeah, about 15 minutes. And 88 Delta leaving the falls.
Airman 88 Delta, Roger, do you want to enter a base for 21 and follow Boeing 717 2 mile final order, proceed southbound on the shoreline for straight in?
Could we get 17 by chance for 88 Delta?
88 Delta, third correction, Airman 88 Delta, enter right base runway 17.
Enter right base for 17, 88 Delta, thank you. Alrighty, well as we come into land here, just make sure your seat belts are secured. Tray tables locked and stowed.
Wind 120 at Niner.
Tower Sunshine 7 on the go, runway 17 for left traffic again.
Sunshine 7, Roger. Extend your downwind number 2 to follow an airvan on a 2 mile right base.
Send downwind, we'll follow the airvan. Airvan number 2, Sunshine 7.
Right, well, Lahui out the right side.
Airvan 88 Delta, runway 17, cleared land.
Cleared land, runway 17, 88 Delta. Is Lahui the second largest population center on Kauai next to Kapa'a. Actually number 1. However, as you can see, there's no tall buildings anywhere. There's actually a written law that says you can't build a structure any higher than the tallest coconut tree. And to preserve that feeling on Kauai, more natural, undeveloped, more or less, a lot different than Oahu. Oahu, or Honolulu, is number 4 in the U.S. for a number of skyscrapers, actually.
With hotel. Sunshine 14.
But there is a company on the south side. They paid to bring in a taller coconut tree so they could put one more level on top of their resort.
Sunshine 14, affirmative. Nicole, thank you. Line 211, taxi via Alpha to parking and monitor ground. On appointment ground, line 211.
And on this beach to our right, keep an eye out. Occasionally we'll see Hawaiian monk seals down there. Laying out in the sun.
Hey, Sunshine 7 near the Airvan, short final from runway 17.
Affirmative, will be number 2, Sunshine 7.
Sunshine 7, for this time around, just change to runway 21, runway 21, clear land.
Runway 21, clear land, Sunshine
88 Delta, turn right at Delta, hold short of runway 21.
Right at Delta, hold short of 2188 Delta. Alrighty. It's a pretty beautiful island, isn't it?
Gorgeous, yes.
Yeah, no place quite like it.